No, things weren't what Bill had hoped for. In more ways than one. Bill's kid brother was still in China. His letters all read the same.
I'm fed up with this mess. We're still training the Chinese. Thought the war was over. This place gives me the creeps. Kids hang around our garbage cans, waiting for us to clean our plates, while their own government big shots take their cut of UNRWA supplies. What a deal. What goes on here?
Bill was wondering, too. He believed in the war as a great struggle against the enemies of the common people. But he was finding out now that not all his enemies were on the Axis side. Strange facts about the war were coming out. In 1942, we wanted to land in France. But Churchill pressed for a campaign in Italy to save Britain's interest in the Mediterranean. Still playing power politics, he pulled troops out of Italy and sent them off to Greece to fight on the king's side against the people.
Diversion of 8th Army units to meet the political crisis in Greece disrupted our plans. The Germans had time to refit and strengthen their forces.
American lives were sacrificed to pay for a Greek government the people didn't want. All this apparently seems quite normal to Congress. Roosevelt's old enemies are again making government policy. They are the friends of big business, the men who believe in atomic diplomacy. The president himself shared the platform at an American university with Winston Churchill when he called for an Anglo-American alliance against Russia. Is this what millions of men died for?
But we of the United Nations are not making all this sacrifice of human effort and human lives to return to the kind of world we had after the last World War.
When Bill walked on the picket line the morning of January 15th, he was fighting for the decent standard of living that Roosevelt had pledged in the Economic Bill of Rights. The right to a job, to food and clothing, to fair prices, to protection against monopolies, the right to a decent home, medical care, a good education, the right to economic security. Bill fought for this new Bill of Rights as part of a mighty CIO struggle against the economic royalists. At the National Labor Management Conference, CIO President Philip Murray had sought tenaciously for recognition of the need for wage increases and of price control. Within a week, 1.5 million CIO workers were on strike. Auto, steel, packers, communications, farm equipment, all fighting for a decent America. Lynn, Massachusetts, Ontario, California, Fairmont, West Virginia, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Jersey City, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Schenectady, Philadelphia, plant after plant, town after town, from coast to coast, the picket lines grew. Big lines and little. The machinery of strike committees functioned like clockwork, and the UE strike was solid 100%. In bitter January weather, there was fire for cold hands and feet, hot coffee and hot food for weary union fighters. The support of the strike was magnificent. There were plenty of attempts at provocation, but the picket lines were solid. The most significant phase of the UE strike was the tremendous community support it received. Dozens of mayors and dozens of city governments and dozens of congressmen supported those on strike. Typical was Lynn, Massachusetts, where the mayor sent a letter to GE.
I have talked personally with many of the workers. I have listened to their arguments, and I must say that their demands seem reasonable and just under all present-day circumstances.
The townspeople agreed with the mayor. Druggist Flaherty offered free medicines. The shoemaker offered shoe repairs. In fact, the whole community pitched in. This was something new for a GE town.
Adequate buying power is necessary to sustain the business life of the community, to enable property owners to pay taxes, to enable a city to conduct its municipal government on the basis of solvency and service.
The interests of the community and the interests of the workers were one. The justice of the union position was obvious. The companies could not conceal the truth. The union waged one of the greatest publicity campaigns in trade union history. It used ads, radio, records, and sound trucks. The UE beat the companies at their own game. The people could not be divided. The union could not be isolated. Its strike machinery stood up, and Jim Matley's national director of organization for once was satisfied.
When the companies failed to isolate us from the communities, they tried to smash us by the use of injunctions. Injunctions is the most reactionary weapon used by employers to break a strike. They have been repudiated by the American people and by Congress through the Norris LaGuardia Act. But employers use the injunctions to mobilize the police power of the state to undermine and break a strike. Even the Army and the Navy has been used for the purpose of breaking strikes. An injunction is an illegitimate offspring of an undemocratic government and a reactionary employer in the name of law and order. It leads to violence, as in the case of Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, on March 1st, an ominous concentration of police shadowed the peaceful picketing and parading of UE members. An injunction had been granted against picketing. The company thought it had won a major step towards breaking the strike. UE locals in Philadelphia and Camden organized a protest parade, an orderly parade, headed by their country's flag, in the hands of a veteran of the German campaign. To the tune of the Star-Spangled Banner, while everyone stood at attention. But when the parade started, trouble began. The flag was torn from the hands of the veteran. The veteran was beaten. It was said later, in excuse, that the police lost their heads. They certainly lost them in an organized manner. This is the result of having irresponsible officials in the city halls, the state capitals, and in Washington. When violence failed, the companies gave in. Big business was stopped. The strikes were won and the contracts were safe in the hands of Secretary-Treasurer Julius Emspach.
Yes, big business was stopped. With the CIO in the forefront, labor and the people won the first round. But big business is not giving up. It is starting a new offensive. Prices have zoomed. What we won in the strikes is being stolen back from us through a big business Congress. Where are we going? Well, you know what a company town looks like. With this Congress re-elected, we'll have a company country with company housing, company stores, company unions, company discrimination. We'll have unemployment at home, and ultimately, war abroad. There's only one answer. Vote and vote right. Canvassing, registering, voting. Sustained organized effort of every local in its community. Community political action will hold the gains of the picket lines. Millions of enlightened ballots must be cast. We must elect a progressive Congress. Prosperity and even peace itself depend upon it. But behind each ballot is a person, a woman, a man.
Bill Turner went to town to save the OPA. It was little help. The Tafts and the Byrds, the Hoffmans and the Rankins, big business Republicans and Democrats and their flunkies from the South, they fixed the OPA, like they fixed FEPC, like they fixed full employment, like they fixed minimum wages, like they fixed the Hobbs bill, like they fixed too many things in that year of disgrace, 1946. And Bill could see rising prices ahead. And he could see more strikes. And he was grim.
Under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Bill is going to do some fixing of his own. He smells November coming. He even smells the date. November 5th.